Look at the balloons. Oh, my God.
There's about to be a big party for a very special occasion.
I think it's because I have reached my 100th birthday.
Yes, Dorothy Turner Johnson has a lot to celebrate. This woman has lived a very long life by making a difference, even from the beginning. Growing up in an era where minorities seldom went to school, she did, inspired by her father's passion for teaching.
Very often, the children that he taught had no schooling because they had to be available to their families to work in the fields and harvest.
But she did. She even went to college, graduating from the University of Wisconsin. And when war broke out, she was on the front lines of fighting racism and breaking racial and gender barriers.
She was one of the first women, one of the early African-American women to serve, and one of the first African-American women to serve overseas.
She joined the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, where she was tasked to solve a major problem, a backlog of 7 million letters sent to soldiers on the front lines.
And it was our job to try to find where these military personnel were, so we could send their mail on to them. And that's what we did.
After the war, she used those organizational skills to excel as a librarian and an educator. And where many believe the secret to longevity is in what you eat, Dorothy says a well-lived life comes from what you do.
You know, this is a great world that we live in. And everybody who lives in this world takes something from it and should add something to it. And if we become aware of that responsibility, it enriches our lives, enriches our souls, really. So I think that's part of the whole thing.
Her life has been one of tolerance, acceptance, and insistence on being involved in her community, reaching out to others, and striving to make things better for all.
You know, I think almost everything that surrounds us has an impact on what our lives would become. Our relationship with other people, our interest in what their opinions are. They may not be our opinions, but they are opinions that exist.
It's one of the reasons her many friends keep showing up, not just to celebrate her, but to learn from her.
Her famous quote for me is, "There's something good about just showing up." And so when I look at the places where she shows up, I see the good in her life. I see her showing up at the opera. I see her showing up at the plays. I see her showing up as a volunteer at Celebration School. I see her showing up and forming what is the first library in Celebration. I see her showing up, supporting her friends and her family whenever it's needed. So I agree with her. There is something good about showing up. And maybe it's because she showed up at good places at the right time that she's here with us now.
Our honorable birthday girl, Dorothy Turner Johnson.
Dorothy Turner Johnson sums it up best herself. For her, turning 100 has been
Overwhelming. It's just been surprising and overwhelming. And it's so wonderful to have all these people. I didn't know I had all these friends, you know? And it's wonderful to have friends, isn't it?